We are live on Character Matters with Dr. George Simon. Hello and welcome. This is the first live broadcast in a while, and it is likely to be the only time for a while that we will use the Facebook Live platform. We're going to be experimenting with a couple of different platforms, and I think one of them will include YouTube Live. We may also try some the Zoom platform, as well as others. But we're still setting up the accommodations to take calls, put them on hold, et cetera, and do the program like we used to be able to do it back when it was on UCY.tv. That network, of course, is defunct, so you can't even access the archives anymore, unfortunately. But we'll be experimenting with a number of different formats, and we will have live broadcasts so you can call in and ask questions every 4 to 6 weeks or so until we get a regular platform established, and then we'll be more frequently live. So today's the first of our live broadcasts. We've already got one question that's been submitted, but if you want to talk to me directly or ask a question or have a conversation, the number to call is 501 258 8326. That's 501 258 8326. Now, as I mentioned, we don't have a very sophisticated phone answering service just yet. So when you call, you may either be on hold or you may just not be able to get through. Please keep trying, however. If I'm taking a call, I will not be able to put you in the waiting room while I'm answering the call. Also, I can hear callers without putting them on the air. And I will, for this program, listen to what you have to say and see if you want to be put on the air before I do so. So, with that in mind, let me introduce a couple of topics that I've been posting about and that I've been broadcasting about on the Character Matters program. And I'll also move into a discussion of one of the questions that was already submitted in advance. Most of you know that I've been working on finishing my probably what will be my last book, which was tentatively titled in the past, The 10 Commandments of Character. It's a vast expansion upon material that I first included in my book, Character Disturbance, The Phenomenon of Our Age. These are time-tested axioms, lessons in life that have to be embraced and mastered in order for individuals to develop good character. And in preparing the book for publication with my co-author, Dr. Kathy Armistead, I decided that the book had the wrong scope and the wrong flavor, shall we say. It was pretty much a moralistic book. Anybody that's familiar with my work knows that I do tend to take some strong moral stands because I do believe that we have a serious problem these days with character disturbance. It affects so many of our relationships. It affects our politics. It affects everything. As a matter of fact, I don't believe that you can find a single problem, societal problem, that you can talk about that we can't ultimately relate to the character crisis that we've been in for several years. So the book, as originally written, was fairly moralistic in tone and contained a lot of examples and was supported by a lot of clinical research. The rewrite that I'm doing expands the book's tone and scope to include healthy spirituality, because I've come to appreciate how hungry people are for spiritual food. And I'm not talking about religion. This is not a religious book per se, nor does it address anybody's particular religion. Rather, it addresses the deepest yearnings of the human heart. In order to be sound in character, you also have to be um, healthy emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. So the book that I've been rewriting is now tentatively titled Essentials for the Journey, Essential Provisions for the Journey of Life, so to speak. And the subtitle is still Embracing and Living the Ten Commandments of Good Character. So I'm getting some messages from folks. I really appreciate that. Some folks are indicating how happy they are that I'm back on the air live, and I will be happy to talk with anybody that wants to have a conversation. As I mentioned, once again, you can message me here on Facebook, and you can also call in at area code 501 258 8326. That's area code 501 258 8326. Now, I do have one question that I want to address that someone had written in earlier and asked me to address. And that has to do with overcoming what I've written about many times, and actually why I wrote my book, How Did We End Up Here? How to overcome that almost paranoia about future relationships when you've somehow survived a toxic relationship with a disturbed character and you've decided to move on. You're trying to pick up the pieces and you're trying to discern um, when a relationship is healthy enough to open up your heart again. This is really difficult because most folks, after coming out of a toxic relationship, are pretty scarred and they're pretty wary. And they've lost a sense of trust. They don't trust themselves anymore. They wonder how they got into the mess they got into in the first place. And they're so concerned about making a similar mistake again. And because we live in the age of character disturbance, and because so many of us struggle with character issues, because uh, we're dealing with a spectrum phenomenon. I've mentioned that many times before in all my writings. We're dealing with a spectrum phenomenon. To some extent or another, or to some type or another, folks struggle with character impairments these days much more than they used to. Much more. It's not that character problems weren't always around. It's that they weren't the bigger problem in relationships, especially intimate relationships, and in relationships in general. By and large, when folks approach a mental health counselor these days, while they themselves may be dealing with some inner fears and insecurities that they're not fully aware of, by and large, most folks these days have been in a relationship with an impaired character. And also, when folks are kind of pressured into therapy these days, more often than not, the person being pressured into therapy is a person who's dealing with many character deficiencies. And the person in a relationship with them is hoping against all hope that maybe there's something that can be said or done to have the person seriously consider changing their ways. So we're dealing with a new phenomenon in our age where character disturbance is the much more widespread problem, and and because of that, folks really are searching for answers. So that the answer to the question about how to safeguard against future problems, how to safeguard against another relationship where you're likely to get victimized or exploited in some way, is to tread very carefully and softly. You know, we have to just accept that character disturbance is the phenomenon of our time. We also have to accept that it's a spectrum phenomenon, varying in type and degree. So we can pretty well expect that almost everyone we want to form a relationship with either is struggling with or has struggled with character issues of some type and some degree. We just have to assume that. And we have to do our homework. We seriously have to do our homework. We don't need to get paranoid about it, but we still have to be discriminating. And I just want to say to the person who wrote in this question, um, one thing I sensed in the question, I'm not going to repeat the whole question on the air, but one thing I sensed in the question is that maybe you might be moving a little too fast, having just come out of a relationship that was toxic, and meeting another person who has also left a relationship that's toxic. It takes a while to discern. Folks used to not only take a lot more time, but they used to get a lot more objective advice, reliable objective advice from people who had their best interest at heart about whether or not someone was, for example, marriage material. A lot more character vetting went on. You have to be careful these days, especially. So, general advice: move slowly, move carefully. You can't really take people at their word these days. You have to do a little bit of homework. Almost everybody's got an explanation for why their last relationship failed. And they've almost always got some excuses for behaviors, maladaptive behaviors that they did to cope with problems. So you have to look past that. You have to do some character vetting. And one of the big reasons that I have been writing this book and hope to soon finish it, expounding on the Ten Commandments of character, one of the biggest reasons for that is I want folks to have a guideline for character vetting, to see how well the person that they're thinking about being involved with, or that they are involved with, embraces the principles that I talk about in these Ten Commandments, that I call them, of character. And in the programs that have been pre-recorded and put up in podcast form on YouTube, I've been talking a lot about the egocentricity that a lot of people struggle with these days, and the lack of gratitude and lack of felt obligation people struggle with these days. In a minute, I'm going to read. I'm going to read the first two commandments and have a little discussion about them again. But one of the biggest reasons that I have been talking about these first two, which I consider very pivotal in the last couple of programs, is because these days, even the most basic elements of character are difficult to embrace for some people. I see we have a call coming in. I'm going to go ahead and answer the call. Right now, I can hear you, caller, myself, but no one else can. So you can let me know whether or not you want the call to go over the air. Uh, and you're going to have to t- turn down your audio on whatever device you're listening. Yeah, you're on with me. I haven't put you on the air yet, but Would you like to be on the air, or do you want to just ask your question of me? Okay. All right, so just wait one moment here and we'll put you on the air and then we'll get started with the discussion. Okay, are you there? Oh, hang on. There you go. Now you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, well, thanks for taking my call. I'm a big fan of your work. I found it a couple of years ago. Um, One of the issues that I grew up with that has troubled me for many, many years was that my mother had several affairs. My father was living overseas, and I would say they're both on the spectrum of character disturbance. And I was always trying to make sense of them in this black or white way, where I was just trying to figure out whether they were good people or bad people. And then I would read a lot about narcissism and a bunch of personality disorders, but it wasn't until I found your book, Character Disturbance, and I'm a huge fan of how you talk about it as a spectrum condition. I myself struggled with my character as a result of growing up with parents on the spectrum of character disturbance. So I'm not very sure what the question is, but I'm 37 years old now, and I'm still struggling and dealing with. I have a friendly relationship with both of my parents, but the issue is when I visit them or talk to them, I have to be. I feel that I have to be dancing around a lot of things that I would love to talk about or address. And one of the symptoms I think of character disturbed people, you could tell me if you have a different view on it, is that just being direct and honest with them, which is my style, can be very difficult. And so I find myself very stressed out having a friendship or a relationship with my parents because I have to be like 10% of who I am. I realize I don't have to do that, but because talking to them about things, I have to kind of be babysitting their shame and their feelings. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on that or insights on it. And I would appreciate anything you have to say on the issue. And if I'm not clear, you can tell me and I can try and get clearer.
Well, thank you very much for the question. If you'll, I'd appreciate it if you'd hold on the line here for just a bit while I address a couple of the things that you said, all right? Because I'd like to
Sure.
have some follow up. But one of the things that you mentioned there is, you know, when you're raised in an environment where there is character disturbance, you're likely to struggle with some things of your own. And I really appreciate you respecting the fact that we're talking about a spectrum phenomenon. There's a lot of misconception out there. There are many misconceptions, especially among therapists, about the nature of this problem. And I've heard from people, even at the workshops that I've been, I've done hundreds and hundreds of training workshops, and I still hear from professionals and from lay people alike. Well, you just can't fix a personality disorder or a character disorder. You can't unbake a cake. There's nothing to be done. There's no treatment available. And while that's true, at least by today's methods, even the best of today's methods, for some of the more extreme cases, it is definitely not true for the majority of situations because, as we both talked about, character disturbance is a spectrum phenomenon. And some folks are dealing with fairly mild disturbances. And there can indeed be a whole lot of help with that. So that's one issue. The second issue is when you go to get help, the biggest problem is getting the right kind of help. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote Character Disturbance. And that's something I'm going to be addressing in the new book as well. But many therapists, unfortunately, are just not trained to deal with character dysfunction. As a matter of fact, you mentioned the difficulty you're having dealing with your family. One of the arts as a therapist that you really have to learn is the art of what I call benign confrontation. This is the art of addressing all of the issues that have to be addressed, just as you mentioned before. They just must be addressed, but the manner in which you address it makes all the difference. And yes, you can expect certain reactions from individuals when you dare basically to address some character issues. But that shouldn't stop you. And once you've learned the way to basically not be triggered by any unhealthy responses you get, once you've learned the art of remaining loving, even when you're talking about very tender things, um, the whole process becomes a lot easier. And frankly, that's what goes on in any good therapy with someone who's wanting to grow in character. And that's the follow up that I wanted to do with you, if you don't mind. Um, I, I'm getting more and more and more inquiries these days. Um, my mail is frankly loaded every week, not just with people. It used to be about 80% people just calling to say thanks. Maybe they were victims of the gaslighting effect, and maybe my first book helped explain that so well, and they didn't feel crazy anymore, that they just called to say thanks. Or maybe they had finally come to discover what character disturbance is all about, and it explains so much about the relationship they were in. But more and more and more these days, I'm getting mail and calls from people like yourself who have come to some stage in life where they realize they have their own character growing to do. And they are dealing with the circumstances in their life that set them on not such a good path. And they want to know what to do to grow and be better and be stronger. And that, frankly, has been the most rewarding work that I've done. And that's what the consultations that I do are all about. Now, I have limited capacity to do that, which is why I spend so much time trying to train professionals to engage their clients.
Objectivity. There's no perfect people. There's no perfect families.
When folks offer these excuses and refuse to face issues and resolve them, what's really accept responsibility and to grow. It's work. It takes a lot of loving effort. And that's what impaired characters don't want to do. They always want the easy way. They always want the easy way. They don't have enough love in their heart. They don't have enough mature gratitude and love in their heart to pick up the burden of responsible living and make of themselves the kind of person that can enter and nurture a healthy relationship. That's what's at stake. It's really all about that. So, in confronting these things with your family, I encourage you to let the burden remain on them. Don't take it on yourself. Confront the issues. Be prepared for the fact that they're going to offer resistance, because what they hear you saying is you need to really correct some things. You need to really work on yourself. You need to stop lying to yourself. And by the way, lying to yourself is not denial, it's just plain old lying. And you need to get busy because otherwise we will never have the kind of relationship that we could have. And the burden's on you. You got a lot of growing to do. And I know I've got some growing to do too. And I'm doing the work I need to do in the best way I can. You have to do some work too. That's what they hear you saying, but that isn't what they really want to do. They always want the easy way.
I like that, growing, because a lot of people call it healing, and that makes it sound a little nicer. But I agree that it's growing that we have to do, because if it's healing, that means that they're hurt. But what's really going on is that they've hurt a lot of other people, and they use the excuse of being hurt to be doing that. But I don't think it's coming from being hurt. I just think it's coming from a reluctance to get real with themselves. And I have to tell you, Dr. Simon, I know you know this because I hear it when you talk. The way you see it is sadly very unique these days. A lot of people would say there's this term moral relativity, that morals are relative.
Right.
And I don't feel that way. I feel like there is right and there is wrong. And I have been so criticized and just not invalidated and not heard, and accused of being arrogant and holier than thou, and thinking that I'm better than everybody else, because I have a very clear view that there is right and there is wrong, and lying is wrong, and it's not. People say, "Oh, everybody lies," and so I feel very, very validated. And I have to tell you, in my 37 years, I've been in this healing and growing journey for a long time. I haven't heard somebody be as clear as yourself. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. This is very, very helpful to hear.
Well,
so
thank you. And thank you very much for the call in, and I really appreciate it. And if you ever want to consider either a collateral consultation with your therapist or any other kind of consultation in your work to grow yourself, I'm happy to consider it. You just contact me through the contact feature of the blog, and I'm happy to consider it.
I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that was a wonderful call. And let me mention again, it seems to me that we might be having some problems with the stream, with the video stream. I don't know if that's true. We're about a little past a half hour into the program. We've got another caller coming in. I'm going to answer this call, this time first in my ears. Hello and welcome to Character Matters. Okay, would you like to ask the question on the air, or do you want to just ask it of me? Okay, well, just one moment, please, okay? Okay, you are on the air.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wrote you a comment because I didn't think we were going to get through because the video is not quite right. But
well, I'm getting some feedback that the stream is not always good, and
yeah. But it's okay. We'll slog our way through it.
But that's one of the reasons why we're trying various platforms. This is probably maybe the only time we'll try the Facebook platform, and we'll do others.
Okay. All right.
So I'll read the comment.
Yeah, go ahead. So we have a daughter, my birth daughter, his stepdaughter, who has been diagnosed with both BPD and NPD, and we as a couple have struggled mightily to understand the atrocious behavior from her. She's been suicidal, she's been physically violent with us, worked behind the scenes to destroy our reputations, has been gaslighting, and we're really struggling.
And threatened to kill us.
And threatened to kill us. She's 21. And we'll reach out with love bombing, and then we'll do these atrocious things. And we just really are struggling with how to love her. We love her deeply, so that is not the question. But it's really how to be in relationship with her when, in many cases, we're feeling afraid.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's not uncommon. And when was your daughter diagnosed?
This was about 2 years ago. She doesn't live with us anymore. Um, but about 2 years ago, although when she was an adolescent, we took her to a child psychologist who indicated to us that she's on in her words, the far end of crazy making. And so we had her in a lot of therapy, including therapy that we attended with her. BPD, no, DBT, DBT therapy.
Okay.
And yeah,
with Marcia Linehan's organization.
Right.
Also, there were lots of clues to things that we thought were problematic, but as parents, we didn't realize how problematic they were. As an example, her throwing her cat around violently and kicking her cat when she'd get angry, and we think it actually wound up killing the cat, but
it certainly contributed to it.
Contributed to that. But
I think we need to stay on top of that. She's been diagnosed as having epilepsy because she has had seizures.
yeah, she has epilepsy as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, you know, oh boy, there's a lot of issues to address here. You know, I can't formally diagnose from such a distance. That's just not possible.
Absolutely.
But it sure sounds like there are a lot of different contributions, some of which are biological, to your daughter's difficulty.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. What we can do therapeutically these days, regardless of what is the root cause or what the root causes are of a person's dysfunction, we can't change their formative history and we can't change their makeup. We can't do anything about that. But we do have interventions of very cope and change their ways. Human beings are distinguished by their incredible capacity from such a distance. Some of the things you just mentioned, especially the cruelty to the animals, suggest to me more of a problem than just BPD or NPD, and a much more serious character disturbance with many components. So this would take a lot of specialized intervention on the one hand, and I would almost bet that if your daughter were your son, if this were a male exhibiting the same behaviors that you outlined, I would almost bet that the diagnosis would not be the same.
Interesting. In what